Jackie Lansdale, President, Red River United Teachers Union. Hey, Miss Jackie, how are you this lovely Monday morning?
I am great, and you?
So last week, Sheriff Steve Prator, Caddo Sheriff Steve Prator comes out with an idea, says, maybe it's time we might start thinking about giving teachers in schools guns, arming the ones that want to be armed and trained, etc. And you think that is
I think that is an idea that should be the very last resort that we consider, and then I just rue the day that we would do something like that.
So what are the first resorts?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's many things we can do, and many of them that we are already doing. If you look at and certainly Steve Prator is a wonderful public servant, but he's looking at through the lens of law enforcement. If we're looking through that lens, the first thing we could do is to ensure that our own security coordinators, in fact, have weapons. They don't. We don't have deputies and deputies and police officers at all of our schools, and certainly they have weapons, but they're not at all of our schools. We have really wonderful security coordinators, but they do not carry. So that's certainly an area that you could look at, because that is the nature of what they do. They are security. They are.
Why aren't they carrying guns?
Because the fact that they're not a police force. That's not unlike you see at a lot of security places, and that's one thing that could be looked at is to make the Caddo Parish School Board become a police force. But I believe that would take legislative action.
You have said that teachers didn't sign on to be in the classroom with guns to protect the students. We asked the sheriff about that, and he said, well, essentially we didn't sign on to do drug education and all the things we do, but we do it. And he said all of us are going to have to do as much as possible. Your response to his concerns there and his response to you?
Well, but that's not the first thing he does. And he is a first responder. Our responders in terms of education are quite different. We're going to be looking for things. We're going to be looking for things we know. Beyond all the other things we're doing educating, we're going to be looking for things like the red flag things. We're going to be looking for children that appear to be disfranchised, marginalized. We're going to look for the child that appears to glorify violence. It might be journaling, it might be speaking, it might be drawing. We're going to look for that one. We're going to look for the one that appears to be captivated by school shootings, those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of things we're going to first look for in our classrooms, and we're going to be doing all the things that we need to do in terms of identifying that, and then that's where we marry with law enforcement, that they in turn would act on what we report to them. So that's what we're going to be doing first of all, beyond all the other things that we're going to be doing. Those are incredibly important. As you've well seen and heard even particularly in this last instance, there were a lot of things were missed along that line when it came to law enforcement in the community and in the way that they acted. Not casting stones, just saying those are things we certainly do need to correct. And then from a societal standpoint, we need to reevaluate when we allow an automatic weapon, not an automatic, a semi-automatic weapon. I know everybody corrects me on that. It could mean, we are gun owners, but this is a semantics issue. It is an assault rifle. At what age do we want that to go into the hands of someone?
Jackie, pardon me just a second. When you said at the beginning of our conversation that teachers carrying guns should be the last resort, are you speaking for Jackie Lansdale, or are you speaking for what you think are the majority of teachers? What are you hearing from your constituents, from the folks in your union?
Just what I just said to you. That is not a place that we want to be. The board of the Caddo, and I spoke specifically for Caddo because I'm addressing specifically for Caddo. We're adamant that is not where they want it to be, and that is the position that they took as well. That is not a place where they feel. There are so many things that you think about, and let me go back to Sandy Hook. Whenever the young children, and many of these schools are, with elementary schools. Majority of our schools are elementary. That was a substitute teacher that day. How could that have been, you just can't think of everything, every contingency.
Jackie, what if you have
every contingency?
What if you have a teacher who does want to carry a gun, who is in favor of this, and right now they don't have that right? under the sheriff's proposal, they would have that right. Do you think about that? Do you have some that say, I do want a gun in my classroom?
I think there's a lot of conversation that would need to be had before you got there, because quite frankly, when you're talking about a shooter running down the hallway with a assault rifle, how do you intend to defend that? I think that if you go back to the old movie of Unforgiven, it's pretty tough to be shooting at somebody whenever somebody's shooting back at you, And I think a lot of this is a glorification and a knee-jerk reaction. There is a lot of devil in the detail of this one.
Did your members actually take a vote on this, or did you poll them?
My board. Yes, I polled we polled the vote. We polled the board. That was the position that they took. There were some that will listen to it, but many were just adamantly no. I don't feel comfortable with this. This is not some place that we need to be as teachers in the schoolhouse. There are just so many elements to this. And, you say, well, they've done that, but you don't know. You don't know what factor worked the best. Quite frankly, we think the factor that would work the best would be for us to all come together and talk about what we do, what you as parents do, what you as law enforcement do, what you as society do. And all of us come together and come up with the best solution. To put it back on the teachers and say, well, you take on everybody else's role because you've already asked us to do a lot of that. No, that's not even sane.
It's headed to the school board. What are you anticipating there?
I do not believe the school board will support it.
You're confident?
I'm
confident.
Would you want the school board to take a look at, as you mentioned earlier just a couple of seconds ago, would you want them to take a look at arming and advanced training, more training for school security officers?
Absolutely.